When I realized I needed to make this channel, I designed it mostly as a way to try and explain the point of my community building toolkit platform I will soon be discussing. The plan was always to have the first community built on it to be Solarpunk my town. However, I realized that Solarpunk was so wide-ranging that people could have that layered community and easily never leave the Solarpunk community. I tried coming up with names like Solarpunk Planet or Solarpunk Nation or Solarpunk World, but they all sounded too cliche or like corporate greenwashing, so I went with Solarpunk USA to expand out from Solarpunk my town. As a former member of a steampunk community, I've been fascinated with fantasy genres, especially ones like retrofuturism. I spent more time than I should have coming up with what defines Solarpunk and what aesthetic it should embody, similar to how steampunk did. Solarpunk was defined as a genre in the future set where fossil fuels were no longer used and the planet was healing with a lot slower lifestyle and a lot more community. Then someone on Mastodon made a post wishing more Solarpunk authors wrote about the transition to Solarpunk and less about what feels like a fantasy to get to a Solarpunk future. It was then that everything in my head fell into place. We can have Solarpunk now, or at least the beginnings of it. We have nearly all the technology now for real Solarpunk, and even more potential if we fund the science, if only the governments were aligned to do so, which requires us to organize and do things for ourselves and be a political force to change the system that prevents these things from coming about. If all of the corporate subsidies for coal and oil and natural gas were redirected into renewables, infrastructure, and battery tech, we could have a carbon-neutral future in 10 to 15 years. But we don't have the political will to make that happen, so we have to wait for market forces to work and misinformation to slow it down, and hope the outcome of the next election can allow for more scientist-approved acts like the Infrastructure and the Inflation Reduction Act that will act mostly as a life preserver if Trump wins the next election, and less like a movement forward to a real Solarpunk future where we don't all bake to death and blow past 2 degrees C like he's planning to do, which will double the species die-off as if we hit 1.5 degrees C. So I decided to build this channel as quickly as possible. However, in the process, I have worried it wasn't inclusive enough for people not from the United States. And while this channel is focused on US-centric problems and solutions, the information can be helpful to anyone watching. Recently, I've been considering a name change to better reflect the point of the channel. Instead of waiting and dreaming about Solarpunk, we can have Solarpunk now if we decide to. It just requires getting out of our comfort zones and teaching people how to organize and network. So that's the idea and the question. Do you viewers prefer Solarpunk USA? And for those outside the country watching, would the USA part deter some people from watching? Or is Solarpunk Now a better name? The first 2 videos bear the name, but I can put in comments and maybe annotations if we decide for the change. I put it up to a comments vote on Mastodon, but I had equal mixed votes from 4 people, so I'll ask you in the comments to help better decide the name. Please vote, or if you think you have a better name, throw that one in too. It will help me decide the direction of this channel. Thanks.